Sharon M. Atkinson here, MacGyver of Design. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. The time now is 2:59 p.m. Just turned 3 p.m. This will be my 131 content video that I'm going to place in my 46 playlist, Mind'sEyeFaith. This is part 8 in the series, What Does Jehovah God Want for Jesus, aka Michael? The theme scriptures are Genesis 3:15 and Galatians 3:16. Let's begin with Genesis 3:15. And I shall put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He will bruise you in the head, and you will bruise him in the heel. Let's follow that with Galatians 3:16. Now, the promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. It says not, and to seeds, as in the case of many such, but as in the case of one, and to your seed, who is Christ. In part 7 of the series, yesterday we touched on the 1,000 years, just a bit more. Let's give it some more definition. The 1,000 years, most scholars or some scholars believe it has to do with the term limitation of Christ's rule. But we discovered yesterday really it has to do with Satan the devil's imprisonment for 1,000 years, his sentence. Let's investigate that some more in Revelation 20. It says in verse 2 and verse 3, we read 1,000 years, and he will be bounded for 1,000 years, Satan the devil. In verse 3, we read the 1,000 years is mentioned again, that he will not mislead the nations for 1,000 years. In verse 4, we read something interesting, that there are those who will rule as kings with Christ for 1,000 years. Now, it seems like they have a term limitation, those who are taken from earth to rule with Christ for 1,000 years. Now, is that really so or just speculation? Let's go to verse 6. It says, happy and holy is anyone having part in the first resurrection. Over these, the second death has no authority, but they will be priests of God and of the Christ, and will rule as kings with him for 1,000 years. Now, the Bible does tell us what would happen to Satan the devil after 1,000 years. He'll be let loose for a purpose, and then he'll be no more eradicated. But as far as these ones from the earth who will rule as Christ for 1,000 years, it doesn't say what would happen to them after the 1,000 years. Will they continue or not? It does put a 1,000-year term limitation on their rule, but it doesn't say what's going to happen. They may or may not continue as such if they make it that far. But term limitations for 1,000 years, and specifically applying to those ruling with Christ as kings and priests, and also to Satan the devil's imprisonment, is something to reconsider. So then, when will Jesus Christ rule for 1,000 years? Think about it. Stop. Think about it. Right. During the time that Satan the devil is imprisoned for 1,000 years. So is that a term limitation, or is it a reconstruction period for Christ? Think about it. Think about it. Remember with Roosevelt, we had the Reconstruction Program, 7-year plan and all that. This is a segment. It's not the whole thing. Now, how do we know that? Let's turn to Revelation chapter 11 and investigate a little bit more about the length of Christ's kingdom, the length and term. And the seventh angel blew his trumpet, and loud voices occurred in heaven, saying, the kingdom of the world did become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, and he will rule as king forever and forever. So there's no term limitation on the co-regency between Jehovah God and his son, but there are term limitations respecting Satan the devil and also those who will rule with Christ as subordinate kings.